Um, Thanks a lot for your attendance this morning. My name is Paul Kama. I'm one of the partners of a licensed investment and transaction advisory firm called Finaltas. We have been in Kenya and we have been involved in various aspects of IT. And we have handled transaction in multiple countries in Africa. But many things and why the question that these eminent panelists will help us solve is about investing in AI and how artificial intelligence still is used. It's an egg and chicken kind of thing, because what you're saying is the investors, the people who are in the investment field, like some of us, we use artificial intelligence. But more often than not, we are called upon situations of where we need to invest in artificial intelligence as an asset class by itself. So we have been involved in many aspects. That's called, like, we have been involved in valuing technology innovation, valuing IP, structuring them, and connecting them with the investors. Without much ado, I would like to give a chance to all the panelists to just introduce themselves, much maybe in details, and then we can go to the questions.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Robinson Mwiru, founder of Computer Engineering Forum. In the forum we do tech events. Also, we do have many initiatives that we have come along with since 2016. One of them being forming an AI crew, which helps in building machine learning models and AI models, and deploying them with one of our partners, who are Microsoft. So we also have an initiative to help kids learn how to code. So much more on that, you can just visit our site and have a look at what we do. Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Jason Eisen, the founder and CEO of Utu Technologies. So Utu, we are trying to build AI models of trust to bring a little bit more humanity to the internet. Usually you maybe hear it the other way around, bringing the internet to people. We're actually trying to bring our human nature to the internet in terms of trust infrastructure. So we try to look at individuals and their relationships to understand trust using various AI techniques. This was actually built out of our first company, which was Arnold Transport. You may know it if you're from Nairobi. The first taxi app in Kenya, actually the first taxi app in Africa back in 2013. And we ended up realizing that there was a big problem with trust. So we built this AI to solve our own trust problem and realized it was actually broadly applicable to many other sectors. We're quite a few things in the AI scene now. Our partner teaches some blockchain lectures, and is developing some lectures at local universities. We're also hosting AI and blockchain development space in Lower Kabete called Utu House. Mostly trying to support local AI entrepreneurs, blockchain entrepreneurs, startups in the space. That we're active in Kenya and quite a few countries around.
Hello everyone. My name is Granville. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the B Hub. This is a blockchain and AI innovation hub here in Kenya. It is the first, and we have over 200 developers. We are trying to ensure that these developers inject into current existing. We are also having a program that offers credit, service and credit to small and medium enterprise businesses, where if you work for a small business, it's very difficult for them to hire developers. Some of them don't even ask the price of hiring a developer. You get scared because developers go out spending. But under the umbrella to change and to try and bring up innovation is small businesses. Our focus is to ensure that whatever technologies that we take to small businesses have its aspect of blockchain or artificial intelligence. So our first, my first being to be able to use, for example, bots for customer service, and then thereafter we can go across the verticals. So that's the behind.
Hi everyone, my name is Ken. I'm the Director of Service Delivery in a company by the name SummerSource. So SummerSource is one of the leading data providers of data for AI or training data for AI. We do serve at least 25% of Fortune 50 companies. So we deal a lot with training data. We're based here in Nairobi and as well as in Uganda. We also employ largely from marginalized communities. So we are able to bring young guys from marginalized places and train them up such that they're able to create or train data for AI.
Thanks a lot. What you can know and what you can hear is that these people have founded, they are key decision makers in the entities that they are in. What you don't know is that whenever you're decision makers, you see it all and you get it all. And that's why we're getting it all, because I know sometimes they have inventions, but you don't have money to commercialize it, or sometimes you think what you have to commercialize is something viable until somebody come and test it and then tells you, thanks a lot for the effort, but I don't think it can go to the market. That's the most painful feeling that can ever have. But nevertheless, Ken, we start with you. Being an international company, how do you think investors leverage AI?
And you mean investors here in Kenya?
Let's say the one that you've interacted
Right.
with.
So the world at large, I think, as a majority of the speakers here have mentioned, AI is huge and it's continuing to be big. It's probably billions of dollars of industry, and you'll find that for majority of the companies that we work with, the main focus is on the future. So you have a big dream, like self-driving cars. You have gaming, for instance, which is huge, and it's an industry that will not only revolutionize everything in terms of how do we do things. And I know there has been fears that AI is going to take people's jobs, and from my angle, what I see is it does take some people's job, but it also ends up creating a lot more than it actually takes.
But there's still instances, when we talk about investors, there's still instances of where, like we learned yesterday, many startups fail in Kenya. So what ideally do investors look for, well knowing that this idea that is here, or this invention or this startup that is being taken to them might fail?
Startups do fail, and that's not only unique in Kenya, as in worldwide, and all of you guys know that major like well-known people have started lots of things. I think Google started a couple of things and they failed. So it's not unique for a startup to fail. However, what we need to identify is what market are you serving? Is there a need for it? And majority of the disruptive, applications or companies that are coming up, it's because they identify a need and they're able to, do their analysis, a lot of analysis, and identify this is something that can actually work, and they run with it. So obviously, you'll have many ideas. Not all good ideas will succeed. So it's allowed to fail. You're allowed to fail. You start and you fail. But keep trying and you'll find your way and succeed.
I don't think the panel has anything to add on that.
Yes, in my opinion, if if you're talking of investors, most of these investors don't really know much about technology. They want just return for their money, return for investment. So the question, to answer the question, I would say these guys would have no clue whether or how to leverage the same. But we have other people who are actually innovating in that space. They are creating platforms that are able to connect these investors to startups, for example, AI startups. And these platforms are AI powered. For example, if I came across one, you go in there as a startup, you create your account, it advises you on which information to fill in and how to fill in, and then eventually when you finish and submit, it gives you details. For example, whether you qualify for an investment and what kind of investment you want, whether you are able to, or what kind of shareholding can you basically give out to an investor. And now the investors on the other end are able to have an overview of what startups, right, on that platform. So that is how I think AI is being deployed on such platforms. But investors, I don't think they have a clue. You just tell them how to make money and whether they'll make money out of whatever invention. So that is my view on it.
Maybe I just add a few thoughts from my own experience as an AI company that's been raising money and been able to raise money. If you look at the last round of money that we actually raised, we're a Kenyan company. There's no one Kenyan investor in that round. There's not even one African investor in the round. We have African investors and Kenyan investors from previous fundraisers, but for this round, we had to look to Hong Kong, to Japan, to Australia, to Bulgaria, to the UK. And all of those places, they're looking at Kenya and they're saying, oh, that's exciting. A lot of people growing fast, hungry for technology, with a different perspective on maybe a system that we've all looked at in a different way. Yeah, I can put some money into this. But they're looking at a couple things. They're looking at, there's not just going to be one AI company in this one space, right? So just being the fact that you're doing AI for trust, which as we do, it's not enough because there's 9 other companies that all trying to do the same thing. So the question is, what's the one thing about your company that's going to make it different from the 9 that fail? There was a story that was told last week about 10 companies in Japan that tried to clone Groupon, and one of them was bought by Groupon. Do you know the difference between the other 9 and that one? The CEO of the one that got bought by Groupon called the CEO of Groupon and said, I have a clone of Groupon in Japan, can you buy it? So at some point, there's about the team and the attitude that they're bringing to it, as much as the product itself and the business model of how you distribute it. So if you find innovations in those areas and you can demonstrate really the knowledge of your problem space, the AI, the science itself, there has to be a strong technical mind, but there has to be a deeper understanding of the problem space that you're trying to solve and how you actually bring that to the user rather than try to bring the user to your product. This is my experience, at least.
Totally appreciate that.
Can I comment on that before you
maybe just a follow-up question.
Yes.
Why is it that there are no investors from Kenya? Is it that they're not complicated? Is it that they don't appreciate? Or is it that we don't have money?
It's none of those, I think. I think it's, first off, there are many investors in Kenya. We have some. I think there's 2 problems that let me only speak from my experience, not from a general stance, but so I have 2 companies. One of them is doing something that's really never been done anywhere, and one of them is doing something that's been done in many places in a very different way, but we have a 80 billion pound gorilla in the room called Uber, and raising for that company with an AI powered discriminator for the company. Nobody wants to get into an arms race to fund a big company like that. That being said, people are looking for, it worked there, let's do it here. These are the types of businesses that can readily find investors in Kenya. I think most investors in Kenya are looking at loss avoidance rather than looking for huge upsides. They're thinking, I can invest in some pretty stable, strong return assets like land or this or that. So let me just not lose my money, but not worry if the return is 10x, 100x, or a million x.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Well, it's quite scary when Jason mentions that he never got any investor in Kenya or Africa. And that brings me to the question now. If we're talking about...
Just this round.
Just this round, fine. But then it replicates across, actually. When you look at it this way, we have many investors coming into Africa to be able to look at these very wonderful AI-powered technologies. And then they're going to invest in them, and they're going to make these companies their companies. They're probably going to incubate them in the US or abroad. One thing is that when you look at 10 years down the line, these technologies are being owned by other countries and all that. But when it comes to AI, in future, there's someone who said that whatever country that controls AI controls the world. It is most powerful. It's a scary thing for Africa. I think as Kenyans, we need to really think about how we can be able to spur innovation. Innovations hubs are quite traditional, and they've not invented ways to be able to engage and bring up emerging technologies. We seated here as Kenyans, and we have people from around the world who also come to listen to us. I think we need to wake up. We need to see how we can be able to be part of the future.
Appreciated. I go to Robinson. Talked about you are the founder of Computer Engineering Kenya. What are the challenges that since now you started as a being founder? What are the challenges that you got as in application of AI and startup of your firm?
Okay. Actually, is that when starting a company, you will have to face this big monster thing that people, it's a notion that you need investors to come in, and you have to express and pitch your projects so that you can get this funding. And probably to get this new electricity of AI moving, we have to look into, are we really doing AI? Or are we really doing, taking technology forward? Because technology is moving forward, and it is important to be driving technology forward. And artificial intelligence, being in an engineering industry, it's keep on bringing a benchmark, a blueprint of the foundations we are building in research, rather than to what impact we are about to cause. Because if you look into whether enough, for basically in Kenya, we need to, if we never had the Albert Einstein's theories, we would not be having like the technologies we are having. The physicists set up a foundation of what we are using today. So the same benchmark, if we follow the same route of getting to know of what we are really doing, especially in the field of AI. Many companies are, right now, are learning how to integrate or how to engage in this disruptive technology of AI. And artificial intelligence having the capacity to boost businesses in the that may not seem possible even at this moment. People will realize that those who are not willing to transform businesses into to incorporate AI into their existing models, they will feel they are being left behind. And many researchers can agree with that, because as far as the term AI was coined by John McCarthy back then, it has been an attempt for many years. And that being the benchmark that technology is moving forward, it's have set a good foundation.
I like what I was saying. And you see, most of the time why startups fail is purely because we don't have the talent. You have a good idea, like, well, it happens even in our firm, of where you get a new idea or you get a new assignment, or be it. But the question is, do you have the people? Do you have the competent people? Do you have the skilled people to have the assignment executed? So I call back to Ken. How does Somasource now get? How do you get qualified people? How do you attract talent in your organization?
I think one of the things that I would say, there's absolutely no shortage of talent in Kenya. We have one of the most educated workforce in the country. We, have very ambitious people in the country. So, just going back to your question, in terms of how we source our people, as I mentioned before, we are an impact organization, and so we deal with or we work with marginalized people from marginalized backgrounds, and by that I mean guys from Kibera, Mathare, and all of those areas. And guess what? The people who come and do AI for I know some of you guys are well traveled and you do get to, or maybe you've seen a self-driving car or other technologies. Some of that is actually being done here in the country, in Kenya. And it's being done by those guys because they're well educated. It's only that they have very high potential. It's only that they lack the opportunity, and that's the opportunity we do provide as Somasource. And so we don't have a shortage of talent. The talent is freely available. Yes, for us to get to that level where we are creating our own applications, we are creating our own algorithms, we need to get to the next level, and that's where I would probably get back to all of us in terms of how do we make sure that, yes, we have exposed these guys to the basic AI. How do we ensure that we bring them to the next level where now they can become the next data scientist, and they can become the next engineers. Yes.
And I like that, Robinson. I think, and in your firm, you expose kids who are as young as 12 years to coding. How do you go about that? Is it like a source of more talent to the market?
Sure. Bringing these kids to exposure to these new technologies, like we have seen China bringing new contents from kindergarten to all the way to introduce the contents of artificial intelligence. We see that we can lag behind if we don't get used to or adapt ways to adapt adoption methods from an early age, so that we can be able to be exposed and be able to be involved in disruptive technologies. And when we focusing on the young kids, they have the capacity of getting it fast before they get to the age of, let's say, 18 years. They will be have exposed to the basic contents of what particularly AI is all about, what Python is, and how they can be able to interact with different interfaces.
Maybe Jason, so because I want to open up the floor for maybe a few questions. Jason, what do you think was your most challenging aspect when you are looking for funds for Utu and as well as for Maramoja? What is this that something that you went through that you cannot even wish your worst enemy to go through it?
The hardest part, I think, for any entrepreneur is just getting told no hundreds and hundreds of times and not losing any enthusiasm or belief. And then you always have in the back of your mind the risk that maybe I am the crazy one and they're all right. And you just push that away down into the back for as long as you possibly can. And with the belief and the knowledge of everything that you've picked up over the time, that in fact, no, it's fine, just many people don't share your vision or they don't see it the same way, but you only need one or two. So talk to 100, talk to 500. I've probably pitched my company over 400 times in the last 6 years, I would bet. Both on stages, individually, on calls, you name it. And of those 400, I think there's 10 yeses that have come. And so There's a great Churchill quote. Okay, he's not a very cool guy in many ways, but he had some great quotes, right? So he said, courage is nothing more than the ability to go from one defeat to another without losing enthusiasm. And for me, that's how I think about, I guess, fundraising. One defeat to another without losing enthusiasm.
Graham, I think you have a co-working space and you find these innovators and they have ideas. Some of the things they want to go to the market, others they're not sure about the market. What kind of a program exists of which support that kind of innovation so that what they have meets investors' perspective and what they have can be commercialized?
So within any typical innovation hub, we have around 4 kinds of categories. One, we have angel investment. 2, we have the seed funding, right? Where you would have investors just coming to be able to give you some seed funding. We have acceleration. We have accelerators. That is also a program in itself. It's shorter in period, and then we have cohorts within it. We also have a hybrid kind of setup. That is a hybrid of 2 kinds of programs. The hybrid between it should be broken down in 4. So what I did is I came up with a structure of that, and then I'm going to share with you in detail, I think, how it is structured. Yeah, because it is important that we all understand how it is often confused. So we have incubators, which have a duration of around 1 to 5 years. We have angel investors, which do it on an ongoing basis. We have accelerators, as I mentioned. They do 3 to 6 months. And then we have the hybrid of angel and accelerator. We have the hybrid of accelerator and incubator in between. That does around 3 to 2 years. And each one of them has their own different business models. You will note that one would be a non-profit kind of setup, where I would just incubate you in my space, but then I want you to pay for the space. Then you can be able to come up with whatever innovation that you want. And then the other kind of model under the angel investor is they are now focused on investing on the best startup that exists. What is my benefit out of that? And then we have the third one, the investment, which is the accelerator. They do investment and they're also non-profits. And the last one is a hybrid sort of, which combines now the incubator and the accelerator. So those are 4 programs. Most programs are run concurrently because they overlap in the sense that they give a longer period of time and also give a mix of what is found in either of the other 3. So.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it. I think I will do injustice if I don't give a chance to 1 or 2 questions, and then we can sum it up. Any question? Okay, thanks. What my remarks on this is, most of the times we get innovations, they come to us and they say they want to go to the market. And there are many questions that the investors all look like. What's the size of the market you're getting into? What's the probability that you're going to get a chunk of it? What do you think will be projected market size that you're going to get? What will be the return on investment? What will be payback period? What do you think what is it in for me as an investor? Why do you want to give me 20% and not 30%? Why do you want to take debt and not debt? Why do you want to take equity? Most of the times we find that there's always a mismatch between investors and the owners of what it's on the table, let's say innovation, artificial intelligence, just because the whole thing is not packaged together. And it's always important to always have someone to walk with you through so that they can talk the language that the investors understand. They can do valuation. I'm being told there's a good invention that was done in Kenya, and some people in the US liked it. They flew in, they came, they looked at it, it was perfect. And they asked, what's the valuation of this? When they were told the valuation, they didn't talk anything else. They were just shaking their hand in the plane going back. And they said they have never met bigger conmen like those people. And the conmen was not because of the idea. The idea worked, but it's just the valuation was just outside this world. Okay, so what I'm saying is, in as much as you are the owner of the idea, be realistic. Just get professional to tell you how much will be the value of this. Sometimes you have put in a lot of effort, and you have highly overvalued the sweat in it. Okay, but it's always, that's one side. On the other side is sometimes you cut yourself short because it's worth this big, but you ask for a little thing. What I'm saying is that valuation, more often than not, is usually the big sense of the discussion. Be realistic about it. Giving you like 30 seconds to give your closing remarks.
Okay, to weigh in, I would like to say that right now, based on our research in the US, many startup companies are claiming 80% are claiming to be in AI, but they are doing machine learning, and doing machine learning does not make it a full AI company. And from the term, what I understand what an AI is a system based on analytics and prediction that will help in doing its own prediction on its own and making decision on its own. So if we get to that point of knowing the difference of coming up with good startups of the projects we are about to work on, that will be really good. And here in Kenya, I know we don't have shortage of talents. We have energetic youths, even experts who we can rely on to help us make Kenya the Silicon Valley of Africa. Yeah.
Maybe I just wrap up saying we see questions a lot like, is AI all of the hype worth this or that? And I think in many points it's like asking, maybe they had the question a few hundred years ago, this geometry thing, is it really going to take off? Calculus, I don't know, is it worth it? So at some point we need to view AI as a tool that enables other things and unlocks value in many different sectors. And when you approach it like that, and you stop focusing on the hype around the technology and focus on the value it can deliver in a particular area. So for us, we talk about bringing better trust to the internet. We rarely talk about how cool our Bayesian machine learning models are, mostly because I don't understand that. That's why we have CTOs. But yeah, I think really focusing on the value that comes from the technology rather than the technology itself. It's the same in AI and blockchain. This really helps move the industry forward.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I would wrap up by just saying that within the space that we are looking at, that is artificial intelligence and how it's going to change how we work. In my opinion, the most important thing is to be able to empower developers right from when they are trying to choose what really do I want to do. Can I go and be a data scientist? So we need to really give them a clear view of what this technology can do, by bringing organizations that are already implementing these to showcase what is happening. And we need government involvement, even though government is not really trusted in many things in terms of the speed and execution of projects. But we're really looking at the government to put emphasis in education, for example, within the curriculum. If we educate young guys, we will have no shortage of talent, because you might be saying there's no shortage, but many young guys have the talent, but they're not willing, they don't have the drive. How do we drive that? So that is a question I'd like to leave to you, but then we need to really focus on how we can be able to better our young children to embrace AI and artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Thank you.
Ken?
Right. For me, I would say with about 1,800 plus people working in different aspects of AI in Summersource, not a single Kenyan company we are working with. So that tells you that where are we when it comes to the future? Are we looking at our problems, our own problems? Because we are working with very many companies out there, and they have a vision, they have something that they're trying to solve. What are we as Kenyans? And I'll go back to Honorable Michael. What are we as Kenyans doing to solve our local problems? What is that thing that we can innovate such that it's solving something that is in your locality, in your county, at the national level, or even Africa? So that's the question that I would want to pose to everyone, that we have this opportunity, we have the knowledge, and the knowledge is out there. You can go read up, and we're actually doing it to some level. But we need to step to the next level where we can start owning our own products.
Just one question. Why is it that of all the people you're dealing with, there's none Kenyan?
Because there's no Kenyan company that has come to us and told us, hey, this is what we want you guys to do for us.
No, but I think we're not discouraging foreign companies from coming to invest in Kenya. It is very, very good. But as Kenyans, I think we should learn. We should learn from them and do it much, much better, 10 times better. Then I think we will be doing a good thing.
It's also the challenge of price. Same reason there's no Kenyan companies that are using Andela. Andela is priced for Western companies. I don't actually know exactly how you're priced, but I would imagine if most of your clients are Forbes 50 companies, I probably can't afford it.
I think that's it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure these are the people you can meet in the continuation of the forum, and as well as maybe when they're having a cup of tea or lunch. It has been an honor for being here and try to get information out of this eminent panel. Thanks a lot.